All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to the podcast. My name's Owen Morangelo, sitting here with,
This is Taj.
and today we're going to be diving into some of the Southern rock culture, specifically talking drive-by truckers, taking a deep dive into their culture, into their past, where do they come from, what are they doing, and why. And we're going to take a closer look at some of their work and some of this Southern rock opera they've been working on. And we're just going to get into some of the culture and some of the meaning behind the songs.
Okay, touching on what he said, this album was released in 2001. This is not just an album or anything of any artist that you have listened to. This album consists of a storytelling of an opera telling you about how the narratives of the South, of the identity that's been going on, the conflict that's happened in the South. They're basically trying to tell you of everything that's happened in the South is not what people say it is. They're going to give you the perspective and let you know how what the way of life was back then.
Yeah, and touching on what he said, they're just trying to show their own perspective, through a creative way. So instead of just a casual album, they're trying to get under some deeper layers and tell some stories from different people's narrative and try to change the stereotypical view back in their time on the South of them just being, racist under the Confederate flag, that not everybody down there was had such strong had such strong beliefs in a negative manner, and they try to do it in a way that was unconventional at the time. And we're going to dive into some of the meaning of these songs, look closer at some of the lyrics and what they're trying to say, and check out some of these references they make and the different perspectives they take.
In the song how life is on the highway and how life is metaphorically being there.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of also are trying to say, like, with this road, that it's like no escape. You're stuck on the same path, and you have very limited options from where they're from. It's like it kind of gives you also like the setting of their area, and gives you kind of a look into where they're from and how there's really nothing there, and that they don't come from a lot, and the culture is built from very little. Okay, and we're gonna jump into the fourth song here, "Dead, Drunk, and Naked." This song takes a very unique perspective. Basically, what the songwriters did was go through the eyes of one of the songwriter's friends and what he kind of went through. And the songwriter talks about outside of the album that he was basically saying that this guy was a poster child for who you don't want to be. And it kind of shows a lot of the struggles that people in the South faced and went through with mental health, drugs, the bad path that was available to a lot of people and very easily accessible, and kind of like where that led you. It's another pretty morbid story about someone who died and to drug addiction, to bad mental health, to things that a lot of people in the South are battling. And they just take a very storytelling and creative way of trying to portray that in an emotional way to grab the audience and really try to push forward, all these struggles and battles that they were facing.
Yeah, so basically speaking on what Owen said, imagine living in the South, not having so much growing up, not being able to do what you want. They're giving you clear points about how there was different point of views being in the South. So most people in the South took bad paths, but he's explaining you the good paths, the bad paths, and most paths that some people take in the South.
Yeah, and then right after this one, we jump into the fifth song, "Guitar Man Upstairs." This is also another song where it takes another perspective, and in this song, he actually chooses to sing from the point of view of an adversary, which is the man downstairs. And basically, the man downstairs is talking about the guitarist upstairs in the same apartment and his animosity for him and how they perceive the rock stars at the time and how they have a pretty negative notion with other people just due to a lack of true identity with who they are. A lot of people would identify them as punks or as just bad teens, people, nefarious people, when in reality most of them were people just trying to express culture, express a new identity for the South. And a lot of that was taken in a wrong way by a lot of people, to the point where they say in the song that this guy would call the cops if he was even playing the guitar in the middle of the day. which is absurd. You know, like these people are going to certain extents that were just super unnecessary out of just, you know, unnecessary animosity towards these rock stars, who most of whom were actually trying to bring a better name, a better image, you know, to the South and their culture. And it just goes to show how a lot of perspective back then was very negative towards Southern rock in general, and not even just Southern rock, the Southern population. And that's what a lot of what this album is fighting for and trying to explain is how they are trying their best, and not just them. You know, all the bands in the South. You know, Leonard Skinner, who we previously mentioned, they're kind of fictitiously, you know, trying to be and show another way of seeing things from their lens, while also incorporating their own perspectives with theirs. So.
Yeah, so what I love about this song is the wordplay they use, dead, drunk, and naked. You would think that the lyrics that's going to be expressed throughout the song is going to be about dead people, drunk people, and naked people, but it's really not. It's just explaining a story behind the life and how no one gets to get the way they want in life. And the big thing about this song, it shows you point of views of the negative stuff that happened, the positive stuff, and the stuff that could have happened that was better. One lyric I want to pull out that really stood out to me, and what is this? Dead, drunk, and naked? Okay. One lyric that stood out to me in Dead, Drunk, and Naked was, I know the Lord is coming back and the South will be saved again. So basically, I'm trying to understand, was he being sarcastic, or was he trying to be understanding like the Lord's going to come back and save them again? Because, you know, everybody's making conflict, bashing the South, trying to make the South seem like they're bad, and so on.
Yeah, it's like the songwriter is kind of being ambiguous and a little sarcastic, and it kind of leaves it up to the audience to tell if he's being serious or not. You know, is the Jesus really going to come and help the South rise again? Probably not. You know, it's kind of to him just, you know, throwing it out there that it's kind of like almost funny to the audience, because it's like you're really depending on the God to come here and save the entire South. But it's just a funny reference where they use some wordplay to try to reference how bad things kind of were. So we're going to skip ahead a couple songs here and talk about a song called Wallace. And this song also takes another perspective that is fictitious. It's from the point of view of the devil. And the point of this song is talking about the former governor of Alabama who died. And basically the song is the devil welcoming him to hell. And it just takes another jab at a lot of the racial tension that was going on. And basically the governor was doing a lot of foul, nefarious acts, very racist things to attain votes, you know, very conservative. And even though in the song it says that, you know, he might deserve forgiveness, that he might not have been racist, that it might have just been for the votes, it kind of just gives you another viewpoint of some of the racist, you know, overall stains that were being put on Alabama and their people, even though not everybody there was that way. You know, they're just kind of talking about how, you know, if people who act that way pretty much deserve to go to hell. And it just, you know, it takes another creative look and aspect by taking it from the perspective of the devil and welcoming him to hell. And it's giving you some more, you know, some more viewpoints of some of the stuff that was going on in the society in Alabama.
All right, so this is the last song on the first disc. This song was written by another band member called Rob Malone. This song speaks about his actions in Alabama, how he wishes he could have did stuff better, and he speaks on his trial and errors, not even trying to be a positive person, but showing people like not everyone's perfect. His actions portraying horrible stuff that he did. Then again, he moved to Georgia, where he notices like the environment is different. The environment, everyone's welcoming, everyone's hello, how you doing, telling you that like, okay, like I like where I'm at. This is gonna better me in life and make my journey way better. He speaks upon how he wants to become and go to heaven. And his role in Alabama, he wasn't quite a nice person. He wasn't doing the things that he should have done. So now he's trying to repay his sins by coming back to where he's at now and speaks a whole lot about his story.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty unique song. Like you said, it's the last song on the first disc, so it's kind of wrapping everything up. And it's written by Rob Malone. Like you said, it's not one of the main two guys who wrote most of the songs, so, you know, you're also getting, again, a new perspective. And yeah, it's one of the more lonely and disturbing songs on the album. You know, it gets pretty personal. He talks about a lot of his personal habits and the negative things he's done in his life and his regrets. And you know, he also mentions how he hopes that he gets accepted into heaven with all the wrongdoing that he's done, and that, you know, he's trying to move on from his addiction and heartache and just find better things. And that's where it comes into moving to Georgia and getting out of Alabama and finding a new woman and just hoping for the best, even though that may not even be the outcome. You know, it's kind of a song of optimism after such negativity, and it wraps up the first disc pretty good. And then now we're going to start moving into the second part of the opera, so we'll start with the second disc. All right, so starting the second disc, the first song is called Let There Be Rock. This song takes, from the first disc to the second disc, there's kind of a transition. In the first disc, they have a lot to do with the Southern culture and kind of a connecting theme with Lynyrd Skynyrd, while this second disc is pretty much entirely about Lynyrd Skynyrd in a certain way. And with this song, he's telling a story about his young teenage years and a lot of the terrible things he did, getting violently drunk and driving with drugs and almost dying. And then he starts to get into how he never actually got to see Lynyrd Skynyrd, one of his main idols, probably the only band he really wanted to see. And he kind of connects that he's seen all these big artists, Ozzy Osbourne, AC/DC, and all these people, but he was truly upset that he never got to see Lynyrd Skynyrd before they passed away, and how close he was to, finally getting to see his idols play. And, he also ties into how these bands, kept him from going completely off the deep end, kept him tied to reality and kind of gave him some hope in life. These people kind of inspired him in a way that was life-changing for him, and he kind of divulges into that. And yeah, he's, how he's being honest in his lyrics, he's very honest with his lyrics, he's not hiding anything from the audience. He's not trying to beat around the bush. He's very straightforward, and he's not going to lie about anything. He's being real heartfelt, and he's saying what needs to be said about his life and his history.
Yeah, so like Omen said, what I really love about the second disc, the first song, Let It Just Be Rock, what I love is that he's being honest about it. Like, everyone goes through the teenage years where they do the stuff they do, He was showing us that everyone becomes slim close to being at the deep end, and it really shows and portrays an image that, these people are not just trying to show an image of being the best people in the world. They're trying to show that, there's pros and cons, there's ups and downs, and that you can be this close to slipping off the deep end. So this one really portrays and shows an image that, if you want to do the things you want to do in life, you got to do it, but life is not perfect.
And this also ties into like the ethos, pathos, and logos. The way he's very vulgar and honest about what he's saying, kind of just ties in the emotion of the audience, and just really draws in your connection to the music and the songwriting. It's more than just a song. There's true meaning behind what he's saying, and he's really trying to express something and get a point across. And he does it in a pretty creative and indifferent way.
So the next song we're going to talk on the second disc is the third song on the disc. It speaks about woman without whiskey. So this song portrays by Cooley. Okay, Cooley speaks upon how whiskey is a struggle in his life, in his daily life, how he believes that whiskey is helping him do the things that he couldn't do if he was sober. So basically saying He's basically saying alcohol makes him do the things he does if he's not sober. So basically, and throughout, he portrays he has a woman, he loves his woman nearly, and he's basically trying to tell her, like, I'm gonna go to rehab, I wanna better myself, but only way of him bettering himself is drinking alcohol. And he speaks upon metaphorically saying that if he's down in the dirt, he's still gonna drink alcohol and keep doing the things he does, but he wants to get better.
Yeah, it's just another big problem with their time and the rock stars from their era, and anybody from the South, battling with alcoholism, battling with the problems with love and self-sabotage. He feels and references in the song that alcohol is like a demon to him, and that even when he's dead, he'll still be drinking. And he references that he might go to rehab, or he says, I think I might, as if he's gonna lie to his girl and not even go. And how, like he said, like he touched on that, he can't even do the things he wants to do without alcohol, or at least he believes that, because these demons are so deep in his head. And it just portrays a larger problem of alcoholism within this time and within the South, and how it can really take control of your life, and how he was really trying to get away from it, but he even jokes about it taking his life within the year. And he uses his humor and songwriting to kind of make a joke and make it satire, but at the end of the day, it's a really sad and deep problem within the South and their entire culture. All right, so getting to the next song, we're getting closer to the end of disc 2. This song is called Cassie's Brother, and it's again completely tied to Lynyrd Skynyrd. And this one's talking about the backup singer's brother that they end up bringing into the band after missing one of their guitar players who actually left and moved to California. And they weren't sure how to feel about him at first. They bring him in. And the song basically just goes about how they felt about him at first and that he ended up being basically a god is how they reference him in the song. And he basically ends up completely reviving the band's motivation and inspiration. He comes in with all these new riffs and tunes and, just brings the band a completely new dimension of songs and just inspiration. And it kind of gets tragic because he's one of the members who ended up dying in the plane crash. And tragically, him and his sister died in the plane crash. And it kind of just goes over all that in the song and gives you some perspective on what's going on there.
Yeah, so basically what Omen said about the band, if he didn't come in and do the things he did, like he was able to write lyrics, be able to sing, be able to do everything in the band, they wouldn't be where they're at today. Like he came in with being mysterious. They didn't know how he would be, how he would act. They would call him goofy, just unsure. And like, okay, like, is our band gonna get somewhere if it's not? But
yeah, and they also talk in the song, like just after the first 2 weeks, he was a part of the band because how good he was. And then another 2 weeks go by and they're already writing an entire album with him, and he just fits so good into their groove. And that's basically what the song covers. But it's really a vital part of Lynyrd Skynyrd's, second half of their trilogy and their legacy. He really tied things back together for them and got them moving. And it's a good point in this disc to kind of bring him up and give him his remembrance, because he was such an important part and pivotal member of the band that came in kind of late and should be mentioned. All right, so getting closer to the end of disc 2, we come into this next song, Shut Up and Get on the Plane, and this is tying into the plane crash that basically killed almost all of the live members of the band. And, it kind of talks about how the lead singer, Ronnie, convinced Cassie to buy a plane ticket and not go commercial to go with them instead. But they're basically trying to say in the song that what she did wasn't wrong, it was the right decision, and that throughout their time in the band, they've done so many things, on drugs and drunk and getting so close to death that it would basically be impossible to differentiate what would have happened. And that, what they're trying to say is that, it's like living, what they say in the song, and actually a lyric we should reference here is that he says at the end of the song, living in fear is just another way of dying before your time. And that, they could have died so many times, and buying that ticket and not going instead is living in fear, is basically being dead while you're alive anyways. So, it just kind of ties into the tragic death of Lynyrd Skynyrd and how that all went down, and, how they have been so close to death so many times that, they had no idea that could happen.
okay, now we speak on the last song on the disc called Angels and Fusiliers. So basically it speaks about how they were so on into being that rock band, like feeling like they're legends, and then it speaks about the point of view of the plane crash on them. They speak about how he's seen angels from his front door, knowing that he's so close to death, like knowing that everything that he did was crazy, like the route that he took to be where he was at today, noticing that he can hear the sounds, like it gives him a point of view and in depth of the horror and the scene that's happening, like being able to see but hear what's going on. He sees like he's like this close to death, how many miles down there are, like he's able to see the floor from where he's at sitting in his seat.
Yeah, and to take the the perspective of them being inside the plane, and it takes a point of view from Ronnie Van Zant, and it basically just says that they knew either way that they would end up dying in the swamp, and that it was just another way for them to go, and how they were going up so far and so fast in the rock world that the second they died, they became instant legends. And it kind of just ties together the entire story of Lynyrd Skynyrd at the end of the album, and just puts an end to the piece. And this is where things kind of get wrapped up, and it's kind of just ties together what they've been foreshadowing through the whole album, with the whole theme of the darkness and the morbidness. And this is kind of where it just ties it up with the final tragic act of what happened to Lynyrd Skynyrd. And yeah, that's going to basically be a wrap up on, Southern Rock Opera. We covered disc 1, disc 2, and, we're just, reflecting on all the craftsmanship and the exploration of Southern identity in the album. They really try to touch on everything and all the challenges that they faced. And, there's just such creativeness and, poignant point of views and narratives in this album that really grab the audience and give you a special point of view of Southern rock and all the challenges they face, and especially bands like Lynyrd Skynyrd and how that works. So, we're happy you guys got to follow along with us and explore through these songs and, the meaning that we thought we could find from these songs. Yeah, that's pretty much a wrap.
So as we conclude the band, we're gonna talk about how this band was iconic. They were legends, and to inspire other people around the world, worldwide, that wants to get into a rock and roll band. This band brought the culture to the South, brought people, inspired people to do what they want to do in life. How there's pros and cons, and there was trials and errors, going through this pain, suffer, blood, sweat, and tears they did to get to where they were at today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm Owen.
I'm Taj.